Hi, and welcome to Moonbeam Connections. I'm Jacqui-Leigh. Today on Into the Shadows, we're going to pull a shadow card and see what shadow aspect of ourselves that Spirit wants us to work on, heal, recognize, have awareness for. So it might just be that you didn't even realize you had this shadow side to you, or it could be that it's there and Spirit's saying you got to start healing that, you got to start working on that, or life's never going to change, it's just going to be this way. So I do set the intention that these videos find those who need them when they need them. So if this video did find you, it doesn't mean the message is meant for you. However, it might not be the entire message. It might just be a portion of the message. So take what resonates and leave the rest behind. And we got two again today. We've been getting two lots. Forgotten needs, and be gentle with yourself. Interesting. So forgotten needs. So this is all about like being neglected or suppressing what your needs are, right? You don't want to be too much, so you pretend you don't have these needs. Oh, I don't need to be told I'm loved, or I don't need to be hugged. Like, it's okay, because you just feel like you're being too much if you are, being neglected by your parents, yearning for that love, right? Yearning to be cared for. Like it's you can think of it like, look at this poor child just being left alone. So it's like, I always go back to childhood because that's where most of these traumas come from. Not that you can't get a trauma when you're older, but definitely if you get a trauma when you're younger, then when you're older, you're more susceptible for those traumas you get when you're older to be more devastating, right? Because you're already in the trauma. But if you had a great childhood, then when you have a trauma as an adult, it doesn't affect you as much. It still affects you, but not as much, because you still have that support system. Whereas people who never had that support system, it's just one more thing that proves to them that how horrible the world is and how there is no support system. Nobody's ever going to be there. So when we look at the forgotten needs, we can see this girl, or maybe you can see her. This girl, she's hiding under a table, and it's like she's being forgotten about, right? We forget to feed her, we forget to clothe her, we forget to tell her we love her, we forget to make sure she goes to school, we forget, and so this wound is all about your needs not being met, likely within your childhood, within your parent-child relationship, that your emotional needs weren't met. Maybe your parents, they didn't care if you had issues, they didn't want to talk to you about it, they didn't want to be bothered with your problems, so they never bothered with your emotional needs. Maybe that it could even be like physical needs, like you never had enough food, you never had enough water, maybe you didn't have the proper clothing, and you always felt so neglected, and your parents said, no, that's, you don't need new clothing, you're just a child, like just wear your rags that you've got, or, whatever. These, usually, obviously there's a lot of needs people have, right? But the ones that affect you the most are those emotional needs, right? You didn't have enough food, although that sucked. Your parents didn't have enough money. If they were still showing you love, that's not as traumatic, right? Yeah, we didn't have enough food and that sucked, and we were trying to find food, and it was traumatic, but I knew my mom was there. I knew my dad was there. I knew they loved me. I knew we'd tell a story, we'd lie in the dark because our lights got cut off, and we'd tell stories. And so some of these bad things that happen within your childhood can actually be great memories if you have that emotional support of your parents, right? Our lights got cut off because we didn't pay the bill, because we didn't have enough money. So for a month we didn't have lights, but it was so cool because it was dark and I was scared. My parents let me lay in their bed at night, and we'd take a flashlight and we'd tell each other scary stories, or, and so it becomes an actually really great memory. So most of this stuff comes from the emotional aspect of it, although it can come from obviously any of your needs that were neglected as a child. And then be gentle with yourself, right? This is all about being compassionate, right? And it's the same compassion for other people, and I struggle with this too, right? I'm like, oh, why did I do that? How could I be so dumb? But yet if I saw someone else do it, I'm like, yeah, things happen, like we make mistakes, it's no big deal. Or, like you yell at your kids and you're like, oh, I'm so trying not to yell at my kids. How could I just be such a bad parent that I can't just not yell at my kids, like just gain control? And yet if somebody else, I saw them yelling at their kids, I'd be like, yeah, it happens, you try not to, but sometimes it's just too much, right? Kids are relentless day after day after day after day, and it just never stops. And so sometimes you have those moments, and so I have more compassion and more empathy for other people than I do for myself. And so this is saying we need to get that compassion and that empathy for ourselves, right? Be gentle on yourself. Don't be so negative. Don't be like, oh, I made a mistake. I'm so stupid. Why can't I get it right? It's, oh, I made a mistake. I'll try it again. I'll figure it out. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Everybody makes mistakes, right? Give yourself permission to make these mistakes. Just be softer on yourself. And so, I mean, and you can see how these two cards go together, right? You were never taken care of as a child. Say you were never hugged. You were never told, I love you. And then you grow up and you're like, I'm not worthy of being told that I love you. And I'm not worthy of being hugged. And then you get into these situations that maybe sort of reinforce that, right? And you're like, yeah, I'm just so unlovable. Nobody will ever love me. You know, I'm just so disgusting. Nobody ever wants to hug me. And you end up taking these things to the extreme when it really might not be. And what's likely happening is because you were in this no, I love you, no hugging, then you find other situations where there's no love and no hugging because those are the situations you're comfortable in, even though it's not what you want. You end up where you're comfortable and not where you want to be, right? You may want to be loved and to be hugged, but if you were around people who love you and hug you, all of a sudden that feels weird and uncomfortable and suspicious. Like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough for this. You must be just like scamming me. You must be trying to play me. You must be doing something. Like, I don't get why you would like me or love me or hug me, because I'm not likable, lovable, huggable, because that's what my childhood taught when all my needs were forgotten about. And we are going to get some tarot cards here, and we will find out some advice for trying to heal this. And of course, my advice for any kind of emotional, mental issues is always going to be therapy, especially trauma therapy. In my opinion, and there's all kinds of different therapies, and they all work for different people for different reasons. I really like trauma therapy, though. Just straight up talking therapy, I find all you're doing is saying your traumas again and again. Nothing's really getting solved. So I like more trauma therapy, but obviously I am not the expert to ask. You should talk to your mental health professional or your doctor about what they think will help you, and you may have to try a few times. You may have to try different systems. Your doctor may say this is a perfect system, and you go to use it, and you're like, no, that didn't really help, and you try something else, and that works, because everybody's got different mentalities, different genetics makeup, and of course different traumas that lead them to different places. So let's see what advice Spirit has for you today to deal with, heal, acknowledge is not really the word I want, but how to improve your feelings, your emotions, your mentality around that your needs were forgotten and that you are harsh on yourself and not compassionate. So what advice can Spirit give us, please? What advice do you have about this shadow side that we're all working on to fix, to release, to understand? So, almost. Oh, that one did go. Okay, let's see. Okay. So this is the 9 of Wands, and this is about being resilient, having boundaries, being persistent, having the courage, having the faith, standing guard, standing up for what you believe in. So the person in the 9 of Wands, they have been battered and bruised. Look at them. I don't know if you can see that, but they've actually got like a towel, but it's not a towel, a bandage wrapped around their head. They're looking very weary. They're holding this wand, kind of leaning against this, leaning over a bit. So they're holding on to it and they're standing there. But what are they doing? They are standing guard. They have been battered and bruised. They have been through it, right? They've had stuff happen to them. But they are still standing and they're still here. And what have they done? They have built up this boundary wall. They have built up this defense, and they are standing guard. Even though they're weary, even though they've got scars, even though they're bruised up, even though they're tired, they're still standing guard. They're still defending their position. They're standing up. And so what Spirit is saying here, your advice to help move through this is to set up your boundaries. So especially this, like if this is things with your like your parents, childhood trauma, that sort of thing, and then they're still in your life, they're still very present in your life, and so that's just causing you more and more scarring, right? Maybe you have that parent who tells you they were the most wonderful parent in the world, even though they were horrible to you all the time, but their retelling of the story is that they were always perfect and that you were the horrible child and that it was all your fault, and anything that you think was bad about your childhood was because of you and not because of them. Right? So we need to create these boundaries. So it may be we need to separate ourselves from our parents a little bit more. It may be we need to separate ourselves from negative people a bit more. It may mean that we need to create that boundary around anybody who's going to put us down, or anyone, like, be gentle with yourself. Anyone who's going to be like, oh no, you have to wear makeup all the time. You have to do your hair this way. You always have to wear the fanciest clothes, right? Or otherwise people will not like you or look down on you. Those aren't people we need in our lives, right? So we're going to create these boundaries. We're only going to accept, and we're going to stand guard, right? We're only going to accept past our wall, past our boundary that we made, is people that are for our highest and greatest good. Even if that means we have to leave people like our parents behind. And it doesn't mean it has to be a complete cutoff. It can be a limited contact. I only see you at Christmas and I give you one phone call a month. I only see you once every 2 years and I'll call you once every 6 months. I'll keep that relationship open, but I understand that I have to have a boundary in order to successfully heal myself from these issues I have, from my needs not being met when I was a child, most likely, but from my needs not being met, and then free me from this harshness that I now put on myself because I felt like I was never good enough to just have my basic needs met. I was never good enough to be told I love you. I was never good enough to be hugged. I was never good enough to have clean clothes. I was never good enough to have a mattress in my room. I had to sleep on the floor, right? And so now you feel like, well, I'm not good enough to wear fancy clothes. I'm not good enough. I don't look pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. Nobody will ever love me. I'm not good enough to love. Well, we need to start working that out of our lives. Create the boundary. We're not letting that negativity in. Whatever creates that negativity, whatever brings that negativity in, we're going to have a boundary and we're going to hold it. We're going to stand guard for that boundary. So your first piece of advice is create a boundary. And I'm saying create a boundary around anyone who creates negativity in your life. And we're going to get another piece of advice. And here we go. It fell on the floor. And our second piece of advice is the reversed wands. Ace of Wands. So this is actually about being delayed, or things being like sort of lackluster. Like when it's up, it's like this spark of inspiration, right? Like this lightning bolt of, I'm being inspired, I'm taking this opportunity, I have this passion to move forward, I'm going to move forward with this idea. And when it's reversed, it's like, oh, you're not moving forward, you're being delayed, things aren't as good as you thought they'd be, you're hesitating on it, there's a lack of energy, there's a lack of passion for what you want to do, you're feeling like heavy, weighed down, you're bored by this, right? Like this way is like, I'm inspired, I have passion, I'm moving, and here's like, I'm not very inspired by this. I'm being delayed. It doesn't seem like it's all sunshiny. And what I'm taking from this is that you may always be looking for that passion, right? That spark of passion. So you're kind of always looking for that, like, pick me up, like that hit of adrenaline, like, oh, look at this, I'm gonna go do this, and I'm gonna do that, and it's gonna be so great, and I've got, let's go, like, this will make my life better, oh, that will make my life better. But I think your advice is not to delay things a little bit. Don't jump on stuff, right? We need to have our boundaries, and we can't jump away. We got to stand guard. So we can't just fly away and go somewhere else and deal with something else. We got to keep these boundaries up. We need to keep on guard. And so I think anything that sort of those new inspirations, those new passions, those new ideas that you get that you think are going to be perfect. I'm not saying it can't be, not saying it won't be, but maybe the problem is we're rush, right? And we're not think, plan, decide, work out. And so when we have that spark of passion, that spark of idea, we think it's going to work out, it's going to be perfect, and we just rush right into it, falls apart, like a relationship. Oh, this guy told me I'm so beautiful, and that, he would, whatever, I'm beautiful, and he not loves me, because that would be creepy, but I'm beautiful, and he loves my personality, and would love to hang out with me more, and so, oh my gosh, like, he seems so perfect, and it's going to be a great relationship, and it's going to be wonderful, and look how nice he is, and everything's fun, and I'm just going into the relationship, and then you get into the relationship, you realize, oh, he's not as nice as he seemed at the beginning, because of course everybody's on their best behavior at the beginning, oh, we don't have these interests in common, we're not quite meshing, and so then it's this like complete letdown, because you were all excited, you were rushing forward, you were doing all this stuff because it was going to be good, and then when it's not, you've invested all this stuff into it, you have these fantasies of your future, this is where you were headed, everything's in there, and now it's not what you thought, and now it's like, yeah, of course, I don't ever get sort of what I need, I suck, nobody wants to be with me, they were perfect, but obviously they got with me, and then they realized how horrible I am, whatever that sort of is. And so what Spirit is saying is, let's slow down, let's delay things. When you get those passions, let's, like somebody asks you out and you're like, oh my gosh, this would be so great. It's, okay, let's see. This seems like it could go somewhere. Let's just start going on dates. Let's see if we enjoy the same things. Let's see if we have the same goals in life. Let's see if we have the same belief systems in terms of like raising kids, spending money, spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs. Like, let's make sure that we're compatible. And then, so you're not so invested, we're just going to take our steps. And then if it doesn't work out, it's not so much of a letdown, right? If you're like rush, and all the way up here, then when it doesn't work out, it's this huge crash, and it just verifies everything you know, which is I suck, and nobody ever wants to support me and give me what I need. I'm trying to give them what they need, but they never bother to support me and give me what I need. So let's just slow down, understand we can have the spark, right? You can have the spark of inspiration, the spark of passion, but we're not going to go all in on the spark. We're going to keep up our boundaries. We're going to make sure that we're not letting anybody past our boundaries that shouldn't be past our boundaries. And I'm going to definitely get you an angel number today, because this is, I'm not sure, I'll have to go back and look, but I probably give you an angel number every week, because shadow aspects are so depressing. Okay, that one wanted to come out, so we'll just let it come out, and we'll get one more, because, see, Spirit wanted you to have 2 angel numbers today. So please and thank you, angel number, for this reading. Thanks. There we go. Angel number, please. Oh, and we got 2 more. Oh, I'm going to lose them there. We got 2 more. All right. Let's see what we got going on. Okay. Woo! Okay, so our first one is transformation. 555. So 5s are all about changes, right? Whenever I see 555, I'm like, ooh, things are about to change in my life. So release old habits, right? Release old habits. Release the old habit of people pleasing. Release the old habit of, they're my parents, so I have to see them once a week. Release the old habit of, I'm not good enough, nobody's going to like me. Like, just start releasing those habits that aren't bringing you to where you want to go, and embrace new opportunities for growth. And trust in the universe's plan for you. So embrace those growing moments, embrace those learning moments, and trust that the universe is going to, as long as you don't totally push it away, it is going to guide you to where you're meant to be, where your greatest happiness is. And of course, then we have prosperity. So prosperity is 808. So embrace your potential, right? You have such potential, even though you don't feel like it, you feel like you're nothing, you do have such potential. Just because your needs weren't met as a child doesn't mean that you now can't flourish and get your needs met at this point. So you are making wise decisions and heading in the right direction. So you're starting to make those decisions, right? Just make sure we're keeping our boundaries up and we're keeping on guard, and we don't run away with our passions or our new ideas or, the newness. This, oh, I got this now, I'm going to run and this will be perfect. We're not going to run away with it. We can explore it. We can delve into it, but we don't get run away and get carried away with it. So you're making wise decisions and heading in the right direction. So you're headed there, right? Transformation takes time, but you're headed towards prosperity. This transformation is heading you towards prosperity. And then confidence. Like, of course, be gentle to yourself. Of course, we're going to have confidence with it, right? Be gentle, confidence, which is 909. Interesting, we've got 808 and 909. So 909 is things are moving and you need to make a decision. Act with confidence and take risks. Okay, so let's start acting as if we are confident. You may not be confident, but the more times you act like, I'm gonna fake it until you make it. So we're going to fake it. I'm just going to, this is what's best for me. This is what I should do. I've made this decision. I'm not confident in it, but I'm going to step forward as if I am confident. And each time you step forward as if you are confident, you will start slowly gaining that confidence, and you'll be more and more confident till finally you don't have to think about it. And you're like, well, I'm stepping forward and doing this, and understand it may not work out, but that's okay. Because I'm going to step forward, I'm going to try it, I'm going to realize it didn't work out, and now I know I can go down a new path. I don't have to worry about this path, right? Or I step forward with confidence, it does work out. Oh my gosh, I would have missed this opportunity if I didn't bother to step forward and take it. So things are moving, right? You need to make some decisions. So I would say the decisions are around who you're going to accept in your life, who you're not going to accept in your life, how you're going to accept people in your life, what are the circumstances, what are the parameters, and make sure you do that confidently. You are transforming and you can find prosperity. You just need to realize this forgotten needs that happened to you, this was not on you. This was not because of you. This is not because you're a horrible person. This is because the other people that were in the situation had issues. And unfortunately, they passed those issues down to you. And so now your goal is not to pass those issues down to the next generation, down to the next whoever. You need to heal this, figure it out, so that then the next generation, the next group of people, they won't have to deal with the same thing that you had to deal with. I hope this message helped you today. I'm sending you peace, love, and happiness. Bye for now.